all the students. So our today's topic is based on our basic need, one of our basic needs. So before I could introduce you our topic, let me show you one video so you'll understand what is our topic for today is. Okay. So video is audible?
Basic need,
Yes.
basic need. It protects us from heat and rain and cold. It makes us look smart and tidy, smart and tidy, smart and tidy. Hands wear clean clothes and make a pose, make a pose. La 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 la.
So from the song, you must have learned, student, that today's topic is clothes. Clothes is a basic need, as we need food to eat, as we need water to drink, as we need shelter for our protection. Similarly, we need clothes to protect our body from heat, rain, and clothes. So you must have learned about seasonal clothes in previous standard, right? Okay, so in this standard, in this particular topic, you're going to learn more about how clothes are made, what are the different processes are involved in making clothing, and what are the different types of clothes. So let's get started. So our today's topic is clothes. What are we going to focus on is how clothes are made. Many a time you might have a question in your mind, right? So how clothes are made? What are the various ingredients or what are the raw materials used to make clothes? So today you will get the picture clear of how clothes are made. Let us take an example. Take a piece of clothes and observe it under a magnifying glass. If you don't have a magnifying glass, take a piece of cotton cloth and pull it from all the sides. When you pull it from all the sides, at the edges, you will see this crisscross kind of structure. These are nothing but the thread which are woven from the fibers. So, let us move on to our next slide, that is fibers to clothes. This is a journey of a cloth, how clothes are made from fibers to clothes. Basically, it involves three steps. Okay, the first step is fiber, the second step is yarn, the third step is fabric, and finally we get our cloth. Now, what are fibers? Fibers are the raw material that we get from plants, animal, or sometimes from certain chemical compounds. Now, next step. What are yarns? Yarns are a thread-like structure which we obtain from fibers when we pull it and twist it all together. Once we get a thread-like structure, these thread-like structures are woven or spined together to make a fine piece of cloth that is called as a fabric. And once we get our fabric, we can make various kinds of clothes like t-shirts, like shirts, like frocks, like dresses, and all. So let us see each and every term one by one. Now, what is fiber? Our first step is fiber. Fibers are nothing but the raw material that are used to make clothes. So, there are basically two types of fiber. There are basically and mainly two types of fiber. First is natural fiber and other is synthetic fiber. Here you can see the three pictures of fiber. The first one is wool. You must have seen wool, right? The next one is of jute and the third one is of polyester. So fibers are basically we get from we get from nature, that is from plants and animal. Natural fibers. These natural fibers are obtained from plants and animals. Some examples of plants are cotton and hemp we get from plants, and from animals we get wool and silk. Next, the second type of fiber is synthetic fiber. Now, synthetic fiber is also called as a man-made fiber. Why it is called as a man-made fiber? Because man makes it with the certain kind of chemical compound, with the chemical processes we make it. Hence, it is called as a man-made cloth or man-made fiber. Some example of synthetic fibers are nylon, rayon. You must have heard about this name, right? Nylon, rayon, polyester and all. Okay, the first picture show you how which processes are involved in making of this synthetic cloth. The second picture is of rayon fiber and the third picture is of polyester fiber. So what we have learned right now, what are fibers. Fibers are the raw material that we directly get from plants, animals and from chemical compounds. Then these fibers are of two types. The first one is natural fiber and the second one is synthetic fiber. Natural fiber we get from plants and from animals. Synthetic fibers we get it from chemical compound. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear with you all. So we can go further. So now we know how we get fibers, what are fibers, but from here onward we will see how these fibers are transformed into the yarn and then how this yarn makes fabric and then to clothes. Now what is yarn? Let us take one example. You must have seen this cotton wicks. Your mother within the time of Diwali you might have seen your mother making this cotton wicks to light up the diyas, right? So these how we make this cotton wicks, we make this cotton wicks by pulling and by twisting the raw cotton. You must have having the cotton in your house, right? So we take a lump of cotton and then we pull it and then we twist it to make a horizontal line kind structure. You can see the cotton wick over here. So this process is called as a yarn. Yarn is nothing but the fibers which are turned, twisted and pulled and sometimes spun in together to make a fabric. When we turn, twist and pull the certain kind of fiber like cotton and wool to make a thread like long thread like structure. You can see the third picture over here. Thread like long structure. That process is called as a yarn. Next, now we will see some of the fibers. The first one is cotton. Okay, cotton is a natural fiber. As I said before, cotton is natural fiber and it is obtained from the seeds of cotton plant. You can see the pictures over here. The first picture is of cotton seeds and the second picture is of cotton fibers. We get these cotton fibers from these cotton seeds. The next, jute. You must have seen the jute bag, right? So we get the jute bag from the stems of flax plant. The stems of flax plants are used to make jute fiber. And these jute fibers are after that transformed into the gunny bags, from the jute bags, the jute hat and all. Next, ship. We get wool from ship, then it get transformed into the woolen clothes. From where do we get the from where do we get the wool? We get the wool from ship, sometimes from goats also. And then these wools are transformed into the sweaters and from the woolen clothes. Next, silkworm. Silk is obtained from silkworm. Silk is obtained from silkworm. The silkworms makes cocoon. You can see the cocoon over here. These cocoons are then transformed into the silk fibers. But this requires a great deal of handling. Handling charges are very expensive. Hence silk is very expensive fiber. The next type of fiber is nylon and rayon. As I said before, nylon and rayon are synthetic fiber. These are man-made fiber. Man with the certain kinds of chemicals processes made this kind of fibers. Hence it is called as a man-made fibers. You can see the picture of nylon yarn over here and the polyester fabric over here. Now we have seen, what do we have seen till now? We have seen fibers. We have seen fibers. What are fibers? Then we have seen what are the kinds of fibers, that are natural fibers and synthetic fiber. After that, what we have seen yarn, how yarn are made, what are the process involved in making yarn. After that, we have seen 4 to 5 types of fibers: cotton fiber, jute fiber. We get cotton fiber from cotton seed. We get jute fiber from stems. We get wool from sheep. Then we get silk from silkworms, and we get nylon, polyester and rayon from chemical processes. Okay. Now we are going to see what are the different processes involved in making clothes. Till now we have seen fibers, yarn and different types of fibers. Okay. So now onward we are going to see which are the different processes are involved in making clothes. The first step is, I am going to share some of the steps of it. Okay. The first step is spinning या फिर spinning. Spinning is the process in which sets of yarns are spun together to make a fabric. Spinning is the process in which sets of yarn which are spun together to make a fabric. The handmade devices are used to make spinning. This is called as a hand spindle and this is called as a charkha. Father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi ji popularized this device called charkha during the moment of Swadeshi so that the common man could get clothes to wear. So charkha is a handmade device which is used to spun the fibers or spun the yarns so that we can make a fine cloth or fine fabric. Next process is called as weaving or weaving. 2 sets of yarn lengthwise and crosswise are interlaced to form fabric. You can see in the second picture some sets of yarns are horizontally passes away and some sorts of yarns are vertically passes away, and hence interlock procedure is done or crisscross procedure is done. This procedure is called as weaving. This is mostly done on hand loom and on power loom. Next process is neeting. Now you must have seen neeting. Your mother have done a neeting process and she has made have a sweaters for you and for cap for you from the woolen woolen yarn. So this process is called as neeting. Now what is neeting? Neeting are interlooping with the help of needle. The two yarns are interlocked with each other with the help of needle, and this process is called as neeting. So these are some of the processes. Let me revise once again. The first process we have seen spinning. The spinning is the process in which sets of yarns, sets of long threads are spun together, are pulled together or twisted together to make fine piece of cloth or a fabric. The device used to make a spinning is charkha and handy spindle, and nowadays spinning machines are used for more production. Who popularized this handmade device? uh, Father of the nation Mahatma Gandhi popularized this device as charkha so that common man could get the clothes. The second step is weaving. The 2 sets of yarn horizontally and vertically passes to each other and they crisscross with each other, and with this process the clothes are made. This is called as weaving. The next process we have seen is neeting. The two sets of yarns are interlooped interlooped with each other with the help of the needle, and hence the process is called as knitting. Different kinds of cloth needs different kinds of process. Like we can do the spinning with cotton clothes, we can do we can do knitting process with woolen clothes. And next step is what is fabric. Okay, so what are fabric basically? Fabric are the fine clothes that we get after going through these all the processes, from fibers to yarn, then to various processes like spinning, weaving and knitting. After finishing all these processes, when we get a fine piece of cloth, that cloth is called as a fabric. Okay, so you must have seen in fabric in the stores, right? You get 1 meter fabric, 2 meter fabric, to 3 meter fabric to get your shirt, to stitch your shirt, to stitch your pant. That cloth is called as a fabric. See here, three kinds of fabric. There are various kinds of fabric. There are rayon, cotton, jute, silk, polyester, nylon, and so on. The three examples I have shared with you. The first one is of rayon fabric. The second example is of cotton fabric, and the third example is of silk fabric. Okay. Now let us see the whole picture of making clothes. We have seen few of the processes of making clothes. Now in this diagram you will see how the what are the various processes are involved to make final piece of cloth. The first step is called spinning. As I said, the sets of yarns are spun together or they are twisted together to make a thread-like structure, and that process is called as a spinning. Once we get a thread or once we get a yarn, the second process is called as weaving. In the weaving processes, the sets of yarns are vertically and horizontally in a crisscross manners are put together to make a fine piece of cloth. Once we get our cloth, once we get our cloth, the third process is of dyeing. Now, what are dyeing? Dyeing is the process of coloring the cloth. Once we get our cloth, the clothes are colored with the process of dyeing. After coloring the cloth, the fourth step is printing. Now, what are printing? Printing means you can print a design. You can make a zari work on it. The various designing processes is done with the printing. Once we design and we print the cloth, the final process is finishing of the ready-made cloth. And once we get a fine piece of cloth, the cloth is ready to make a garment, that is a t-shirt. That could be a t-shirt, that could be a sari, that could be a jeans, or that could be a frock or anything. So these are the whole processes involved in making of clothes. So now what we have understood, the cloths are made of fibers. There are two kinds of fibers. One is a natural fiber and another is a synthetic fiber. Natural fibers we get from plants and from animals. Synthetic fibers we get from chemical compounds and from chemical processes. Once we get the fibers are transformed into the yarn by pulling and twisting to make a long thread-like structure. Once we have our thread, these threads are converted into the fine piece of cloth. Once we get our clothes, the clothes are ready to make your make your different kinds of clothes. In our next slides, we are going to learn what are the various machines are used to make a cloth. Now, loom. What is the meaning of loom? Loom is the machine which is used to make cloth. There are two kinds of looms. The one is hand loom and the other is power loom. Hand loom versus power loom. What are the differences between two? Let us see. The first picture is of handloom. Handloom requires manual operation. From the name itself, you must have understood hand means operated manually. The man operate this machine, and hence it is called as a manual operation. It can be done for the less production. If you need a less production of clothes, less numbers of clothes, we can use handloom. It requires low investment of money. With the low investment of money, we can start up with the handloom, and the quality of the product will be very high because it is made manually with the hands. Opposite to it, power loom. Power looms are operated on the electrical power and the electricity. Hence, it can be done for the more production of cloth, and hence investment is very high, and the quality must be low, or sometime it could be high and it could be low. So what we understood from this, looms are the machines which are which are used to make clothes. There are two kinds of loom. One is a hand loom and other is power loom. Hand looms are operated manually. Power looms are operated electrically. Hand looms require low investment. Power loom requires high investment. Hand looms has a high quality. Power loom has a low quality. Handlooms can be used for less production and power looms could be used for more production. Okay. Here are some pictures of loom. You can see the first picture is of making sari with the hand loom with the zari work and all. The second picture is of making bed sheets with the hand loom. The third and the fourth picture is of power loom, how yarns are made. You can see the picture of yarn. The long thread like structures are made. These are called as the yarns. So our next slide is summary. We are going to summarize what we have seen in today's chapter. So first element of today's chapter was fiber. Fibers are the raw material that we get from plants and animals and sometimes from chemical clothes. The second point was yarn. We get yarn by long thread-like structure by pulling and twisting of fibers. The third, fabric is made from long yarns. Spinning, weaving, knitting, dyeing, these are some of the processes involved in making clothes. And there are two kinds of loom, that is hand loom and power loom. Yes, so I have a question for you. Fill in the boxes with the correct answer. You're going to answer me what picture is it. You can unmute yourself and you can give me an answer. Yes.
Teacher, first picture is cotton.
Yes, it's cotton cord or cotton.
Second picture is sheep.
Sheep.
Yes.
Third picture is silkworm.
Silicon.
Yes. Can you tell me from cotton pod which fibers we get? From cotton, which fiber we get? We get cotton fiber from cotton pod. The second picture is of ship. What we get from ship?
Sweater.
No, the sweater is the final product. We get wool from ship and then wool is transformed into the sweaters. Okay, very good. From silkworm, what we get?
Silk.
Yes, from silkworm,
Silk.
silk fabric. Very good. Now next, few fill in the blanks. Okay. Fibers mainly are of dash types. How many types of fibers are there? Two.
Two.
Yes. Can you tell me which are there?
Cotton.
Cotton and
Yes. Okay. Your answer is correct. Fibers mainly are of two types, and that are natural fibers and synthetic fibers. Yes.
Pink.
Natural fibers we get from plants and from
Pink.
animals. Yes. And from synthetic fibers we get from
Raw
chemical
material. Raw material.
chemical compounds and chemical processes. Okay. The second is rayon is dash fiber. Natural or synthetic? Rayon is dash natural.
Synthetic.
Yes, very good. Synthetic.
yarn.
Third, fill in the blank is dash is made by pulling fiber. By pulling and twisting fiber, what we get? Fabric or yarn?
Yarn.
Yes, very good. We get yarn from twist.
Yarn.
fibers.